Robert Gallagher said, "Change is inevitable, except from a vending machine." Isn't it weird that we've known about change being a constant for so long, but when it happens to us, we're still like, what? Nature is a master at adapting to change. For example, take salmon. They're one of the few species on this earth who can survive in both freshwater and saltwater. I've always been fascinated by salmon. The summers of my childhood were spent running across the smooth river rocks at Eagle Creek, and if my brother and I weren't tossing a worm into a fishing hole, then we'd be trying to save the little salmon who'd been trapped in the pools of water on the side of the creek with little nets and buckets. It was a pretty fierce competition to see who'd get the most. Yeah, we were saving salmon before it was cool. Rivers and fish were such a big part of my early life that I almost chose to make it my major in college, but alas, I was seduced by the fame and fortune of forestry. While working on a timber sale near the Oregon coast, I gazed down the green, fern-covered hillside to a meandering stream below. From this vantage point, you can see where a raging flood had actually shifted the entire course of the river. It got me thinking about the challenges that we go through. Can you think about the last change that came from upstream, from up the management chain, that totally altered the course of your workflow? Has something happened in your personal life that's made it feel like you're being swept downstream? As I stand on that moist mountainside, it gets me thinking, maybe nature can teach us something. Maybe nature can teach us a better way to deal with change. Because frankly, sometimes even fish are smarter than we are. Think about it. When we're forced to do something a different way because budgets were cut or a new rule determines how we have to work, what's the first thing we do? We complain. Stupid rules. This is so unfair. I'm taking my toys and going home. On December 6, 2008, a flash flood of bad ideas totally changed the course of my life. Even worse than the physical changes and physical pain I've had to go through, the hardest part has been managing the emotions of knowing just how wonderful life was up until that change. Salmon, they go with the flow. When the course of their life is changed, they acknowledge, then adapt. It sounds silly to picture a salmon jumping up on the bank, trying to swim where the old river course was, complaining about the changes. The salmon who do this, they're extinct. They don't survive. And if we're trying to build teams that can adapt to this new work climate that we find ourselves in, complaining about the changes, that does nothing to move you and I forward. I don't know about you, but instead of complaining about what changed yesterday, I'd rather talk about where I'm going tomorrow. What has changed the course of your life? Injuries? Divorce? Downsizing? Kids? Change is easy for no one, but you and I can become a master at adapting to it by using two words as a guide: focus forward. You might be thinking the hardest part about adapting to change is learning to do something a whole new way. I see it the other way around. The hardest part is letting go of how you did it in the past. Driving past a beautiful river used to be unbearable for me. Right away, I would picture myself waist deep in the water, gracefully casting a dry fly towards a hungry trout. That memory would bring a smile to my face, but a tear to my eye. Because fishing will never be the same for me. I searched for years to figure out a way to deal with these feelings and emotions I was wrestling with, feelings maybe you've had. And this is what I found. Acknowledge that a change happened, but don't put time into comparing today's reality to yesterday's routine. Force yourself to focus forward. Now, you won't find me wading in the water again, well, unless I have a pretty massive failure with my wheelchair brakes. But I can fish from a boat. And by the way, caught my biggest salmon last year from a boat. Focus forward on what you do have to work with, and you'll be able to uncover options that other people just pass by. Bruce Lee once said, "Be like water." In order to win the fight, he didn't just stand still in one spot. He had to move, always changing, always adapting. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You pour water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Be like water, my friend. You put a fish into water, it focuses forward. When it bumps a boulder, it swims around. When it hits a waterfall, it jumps over. When the river changes direction, so too does the fish. Focus forward, my friend. Focus on what you can influence. Because we can't change yesterday, but you can change tomorrow.